around in the debate over just what constitutes a healthy diet. After years of being warned off meat and fat, would you believe some medical authorities are now suggesting we've had it wrong all that time? That in fact, a high protein and even high fat diet is the way to go if we want to avoid putting on weight or even lose weight. More from Jane Hanson.
Smells delicious. I'm starving.
For the past decade, this is exactly the type of food we've been told to go easy on. Too much high-protein meat and fat can lead to obesity, heart disease and diabetes. We've been told to follow a low-fat diet with lots of carbohydrates like bread, cereals and pasta. Kids are taught the principles of the healthy eating pyramid at school.
Bread, rice, cereals and fruits and vegetables.
So lots of carbohydrates?
Carbohydrates, yeah.
And less of what?
Fats and oils and meat.
But the pyramid may be about to be turned upside down.
The consensus all around the world at the moment is that a high carbohydrate diet is best.
Jenny Brand-Miller is a professor in nutrition at Sydney University and has been teaching the theory of a high carbohydrate, low fat diet for a decade. Have we been right on that?
Well, we'd like to think we've been right, but I think there's an increasing realisation that we're not getting slimmer, we're getting actually fatter, and perhaps we've got it wrong.
Australians are getting fatter. Obesity has grown almost 10% in the past decade, despite all the good advice. But this week at the 10th World Congress on Food Science and Technology, experts from around the world are preaching a different diet. A high meat, low carbohydrate diet, like that of our ancestors, is now being held up as a healthy model.
Fred Flintstone got it right.
What's science to the experts has transformed into a diet fad in the land of obesity, America.
Porterhouse.
Filet mignon.
The double steak.
A recent 2020 program on the American ABC network reported that meat and fat are back on the menu.
Cheers, love.
This is gonna be a big apple.
Drucy Diaz-Phillips is following the hottest diet in the country. It's called the Atkins diet, where carbohydrates are the baddies. She can't eat toast or pasta, but she can eat all the eggs, meat, bacon and cheese she likes. In 2 months, she's lost 13 kilograms.
It's like, I can't be healthy. No, healthy, fat.
The diet was written 25 years ago by cardiologist Dr. Robert Atkins. At the time, it was condemned by the medical establishment as the nation was told to follow a low-fat, high-carbohydrate regime. Now he feels vindicated by this current fad.
This time talking to a new generation of people who had been brainwashed systematically into thinking that fat on the body equated with fat in the diet.
While there's plenty of critics who call his diet dangerous, the evidence that a low-fat diet works is also being questioned.
We are consuming probably a 15% lower fat diet than we were 20, 30 years ago, and we're 30% more obese.
Dr. Kevin Vigilante is an associate professor of medicine at Brown University and co-author of the book Low Fat Lies, High Fat Frauds. He's no convert to the Atkins school of thought, but he says low-fat foods are a contributing factor to obesity.
People will see, low-fat or no-fat yogurt, and they'll think they could eat as much of this stuff as they want. They don't realize that this stuff has been pumped with sugar now to give it taste.
Conventional thinking has been turned on its head. The high-protein, low-carbohydrate diet has led to a rush of bestsellers like Sugar Busters, Protein Power, and The Zone.
I thought, man, there's no way this is going to work. This goes against everything I've ever been told.
Howard Comerdo has been on the Atkins diet for a year. He's lost 36 kilograms.
Every meal, I have meat. If I have a choice between meat or vegetables, I will eat meat.
Surprisingly, his cholesterol level has also dropped.
I don't know why the diet works. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me either. But I know it works. I know that it's changed my life. I know that Dr. Atkins has made an impact on me.
I tried the low carbohydrate diet myself, and after years of failure with myself and my family on low-fat diets, basically getting fatter as the whole American population was, I lost weight and wasn't hungry.
Dr. Arthur Agustin is a cardiologist with Miami's Mount Sinai Medical Center. He too has been telling his patients to follow the American Heart Association high-carb diet for years. But after his success, He put the two diets to the test on 60 patients, and the results were surprising. High protein meant less weight.
Compared to the Heart Association diet, our patients lost more weight.
And their cholesterol levels dropped as well.
Their lipid profiles improved dramatically as they lost weight. In particular, their triglycerides dropped dramatically, and their good cholesterol, the HDL, increased.
So how does it work? According to Dr. Atkin, protein from meat makes you feel more satisfied, so you eat less. Carbohydrates like pasta, bread, rice and potatoes cause the body to make insulin, which turns the carbohydrates into sugar. What's not used as energy gets stored as fat. Cutting out carbohydrates makes the body burn its own fat stores. Now science seems to think he's actually onto something.
The part that's right is that perhaps carbohydrates in some forms are undesirable. All right, there's good and bad carbohydrates. But where he got it really wrong was he was telling people to eat all the dairy products and all the saturated fat on animal food that you could possibly want. And nobody would agree with that.
At this week's World Convention in Sydney, the experts have been talking about the Stone Age diet, studying what we ate as we evolved.
Bread certainly was not available.
Carbohydrates, they've been arguing, came about by agriculture in the last 10,000 years, all cultivated and not the sorts of foods we were programmed to eat.
Most Western foods, most things like bread and breakfast cereals and potatoes, they send our blood sugar levels up very high. And in some groups of people, like Aboriginal people or Asian people, the blood sugar levels go so high that they're almost dangerously high. And the consequences in the long term are increased risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease and obesity.
There was a school of thought that we evolved as herbivores or vegetarians. Now studies of indigenous populations like the Australian Aborigines prove we were mostly meat eaters, red meat, white meat and seafood, supplemented by available fruit, veggies and nuts. And before the introduction of a Western diet, heart disease and obesity were unheard of.
Humans have evolved against a backdrop of ice ages, no agriculture, a lot of animal food, but very little plant food. And we have lessons to learn from that. And we're still trying to sort out what the lessons are. And I'm not ready to jump on a pyramid that has animal foods at the bottom. I'm not ready for that. I'm not sure. I want more evidence, more clinical studies.
From 190 to 140, so you lost 50 pounds.
Dr. Atkins has conducted no clinical trials. He simply has anecdotal evidence of success, but he believes the latest scientific thought supports his much maligned approach.
I can see that the scientific community has just about switched around 180 degrees. It turns out that I wasn't wrong, but that a lot of these people making policy were.
Jane Hanson reporting there, and I've no doubt the debate will continue to rage on. But first, a controversial new Australian diet producing worrying results because women and men are shedding too much weight in too short a time. To do it, they're virtually cutting out carbohydrates like bread, cereal and rice. And that's what has the experts concerned, because they warn the diet program is likely to do more harm than good.
4 months ago, Rod Gardner weighed nearly 20 stone, or 130 kilos. He had a dangerously high cholesterol level of 12 and blood pressure readings of a man twice his age.
When you're a fat boy, no one ever tells you you're looking handsome, you're looking good, you did that well. And it's really great to get the odd compliment.
Rod lost 8 kilos in 13 days. After 14 weeks, he'd shed 35 kilos by following a controversial new diet created by Melbourne naturopath Tony Lavane. The key was to slash Rod's carbohydrate intake and put his body into a state known as ketosis.
Ketosis is a state where the body starts to burn its own body fat for energy instead of burning carbohydrates in the form of foods.
In 13 days, Rod lost 8 kilos. After 14 weeks, he'd shed 35 kilos.
There's absolutely no point in losing 5 kilos in a week and staying on a program for 3 months and maybe losing 30 kilos, as some people have reported, and then putting it all back on, because studies are showing that yo-yo dieting is actually more dangerous to health than actually being a bit overweight in the first place.
Dietitian Karen Inge is no fan of Tony Lavane's Ultra Lite diet. She says in a state of ketosis, you'll definitely lose weight, but at what cost?
When people are ketotic or producing ketones, they are in a state of starvation, they have anorexia, or they may be in an uncontrolled diabetic state. So I refer to low carbohydrate diets as a modified form of fasting.
We should all be, in fact, be in ketosis. That way we could maintain our weight. But the problem is our diets are so high in carbohydrate, breads, pastas, rice, cereals and potatoes, that we go way out of ketosis and we gain weight. The body can't burn body fat. The only way you can burn body fat successfully and in sufficient amounts is by being in a mild state of ketosis.
By the time I stopped the program, I'd lost 21 kilos.
Mariana Durson says the Ultralight program worked for her where others like Weight Watchers had not.
I used to put myself in a big tease because, you know, I hadn't lost any weight. But with this whole ketosis thing, it was such a black and white thing. It either was or it wasn't.
This might be the only diet in the world where you can have bacon and eggs for breakfast every morning, cooked in butter. Meat's back in for lunch and dinner, provided it's served with salad instead of starchy vegetables like potato. Out are some vegetables, plus pasta, rice, cereals, and all bread products. And that's what has dietitians most worried. They say it's fine to cut back on high carbohydrate foods to lose weight, but nothing can replace these as an essential source of glucose, which literally fuels the human brain, and fibre, which fights diseases like bowel cancer.
My doctor told me I had to lose weight because I have hugely high blood pressure.
Amanda Feeham lost 10 kilos in 5 weeks.
I'd say things like your face is different, you had your hair cut, you changed your makeup. Is that new? You know, that sort of thing. And you go, no, I'm on a diet.
We give them a sachet that they take 4 times a day. That provides their vitamins, minerals and amino acids and some essential fatty acids in there as well. That helps the body's metabolism to work more efficiently. It helps them to feel full so they're not hungry and provides them with all their vitamins and minerals so they feel good on the program.
Tony Lavane says few patients suffer side effects while on the diet. Rod Gardner says everything from his skin to his ability to concentrate improved, eventually.
I would say for the first week or 2, it was sheer hell. I actually felt bordering on seasick for, I reckon, 10 days.
Is there any way of getting those vitamins and minerals through diet rather than supplements?
Well, the bulk of the vitamins that we give them are the B group vitamins, and the B group vitamins are contained in carbohydrate foods like bread, pasta, rice, cereals and potatoes. They're the foods that put on the weight, unfortunately. So we need to reduce those levels down whilst they're trying to lose weight.
In Australia, we have one of the highest rates of bowel cancer in the world. Heart disease is still a major killer. And a lot of high carbohydrate foods are also the highest fibre foods. And fibre, we know, is very important for our bowel health. We know that fibre, soluble fibre particularly, is very important for heart health. And all the antioxidants and the phytochemicals that these groups of foods provide cannot afford to be ignored just because you want to be thinner.
Karen Inge says many people confuse the euphoria of weight loss with well-being and put themselves at risk during a diet.
I ask the question, and I can answer it too, is it really necessary to take these drastic steps and take these risks to manage weight successfully? In my opinion, no.
And I've never had a person come into the clinic and tell me they're losing weight too quickly. Once a person has started losing weight, they want to get it off as quick as they can, and that's important for their motivation. If it drags out too long, they're going to stop. It's not going to work.
At a cost of $265 for 5 weeks, which pays for 5 naturopath consultations and vitamin supplements, Tony Lavane admits there are some people he'd never put on this diet, like people with kidney problems, breastfeeding mothers, or potential diabetics.
Well, this says to me there are inherent risks with this kind of eating program, and nutrition should be healthy. There should be no risks in following a particular kind of diet. The role of food and what we eat is to enhance performance and to improve our health and to protect against disease, not to put our health at risk.
But try telling that to those who are now just a shadow of their former selves.
I'm delighted. It has given me so much freedom. Yeah, just like, yeah, I can't stop smiling about it.
It's funny, actually, the comments from your work colleagues. Most of the guys I work with, more often than not, they'll sort of come up to you, put an arm around you and say, well done, we've got to make time so I can learn your secret.
Glenn Connolly with that report in Melbourne.